All right. Welcome everybody. My name is Michael Akimbamiro. I am glad to welcome you here. We'll be having some very good discussion about cybersecurity, and today we're going to be talking about a very, very important concept in cybersecurity, which is authentication. Now, before we go into that, if you don't know too much about cybersecurity, you might want to read up a little bit. And the most basic concept that is going to follow you all through your career in cybersecurity are these three concepts. And are you ready? It's called CIA. Okay? It is the concept of confidentiality, availability of information, and integrity of that information and system. So we call them the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, availability. Those are the most important, and you don't have to know them in, just like in one order or the other, as long as you can tell us those three. Those three are the most important concept when it comes to cybersecurity. We want to make sure that we keep information confidential. There is availability of information when it is needed to authorized users, and there is an integrity of that information or that data or that system that we are accessing. Now, before I go on, again, my name is Michael Akimbamiro, and I have been in this field of information technology for about 7 years. I started as a Scrum Master. I moved on as an Agile coach. I've worked with, top companies like State Street Bank, like Wells Fargo, like Clarent. I also work with, some other top companies, real estate company. I've been there. I work with some oil and gas company. I work in the financial sector. So I've been around for about 7 years, and about 3 years or thereabout ago, I was managing a project in the cybersecurity field, and this actually opened me up to a lot of knowledge in that space. So what I did was I started studying. I started looking at what organizations, what body can I join to gain more knowledge. So I found that Issaka is a wonderful organization, a group of neatly people that you can actually join, buy into their idea, and there are tons of materials and trainings and mentorship out there. And honestly, I'm not paid for that, but it's just one good resource that I found out there that I think people can take advantage of. Again, to join Issaka, I think you have to, it's a yearly, there is an annual fee that you have to pay and things like that. But a very, very good resource. So I developed this skill, and because of that, based on that journey, I was able to get my certification completed. I just recently passed my CISM exam, which is Certified Information Security Manager, and I'm just applying as that, because once you pass your exam, then you have to wait till you have to apply, and then you will get the organization will now confer that certification on you. So that's a little bit about me. Let us quickly go into today's topic, because I find it very, very interesting. Now, what is authentication? Okay, authentication refers to a concept where you provide something so that we can verify you. Okay, it involves verification of identity. We have to provide something for the system to be able to give us that access. Most of you, in today's world, we all have applications, that we are using. And then when you interact with a web browser or an application using a web browser, you have to provide certain information. That certain information is what you refer to as signing up. And when you are doing your signing up to an application, let's say I want to apply for maybe online banking access with Bank of America, for instance, I have to go on that web browser. I have to open the exact URL and then provide information that has been configured for me to see on the client side. So they will be taking certain information from me as the user. Now, you as the user, what you are providing to them is your credentials, is your information. That is data. That is something that you are providing for them to be able to say, this is Mr. A trying to, gain access to this system. So that information that you are providing is solely yours. It is your right. And giving it to Bank of America, it's like you're giving them a part of you. And then Bank of America must also, in turn, say this information is going to be used for A, B, and C, and nothing more. And then they must commit to making sure that that information that you, the user, have given to them is not abused. They cannot abuse that information, and they have to be able to keep that information safe. And in order to do that, they will tell you that, okay, we need you to provide certain information in certain order that has been configured, so that whenever you come next to access this information, this is how we will verify your identity. And then the system will grant you that entry into the organization environment. Now, again, it's all logical. I am coming to your door, and before you open the door for me, I knock, right? You come to the door, you probably have those small, door hole to see who is there, and then, or you have a ring, and then you look and say, oh, this is Michael. Yes, I do know Michael. He's my friend. Let him in. You open the door and I get in. It's the same thing that the system is doing. It's trying to verify that you are who you say you are. Now, when the system, have your credentials, it will store it. Okay? And then whenever you come again, it will access that information that has been stored to say, okay, I have against this information that I've stored and what has been provided now, both of them match, so this person must be this person, so let him in. Now, that is how the system, the user and the system starts to interact. But the concept of authentication does not just talk about user as you alone. So at times, systems also communicate with systems. Bots communicate with systems. So at times, these systems also have to provide a way, for other systems that are trying to connect to a particular system. They have to have a way of providing that verification so that they can know that this is an authorized system trying to gain access and not an authorized user trying to gain access. And the way we do, the reason for all this is going to be tied back again to the concept of CIA. That is the concept of confidentiality, integrity of information or data, and availability of that information. Now, there are ways that, systems provide this authentication. So we do have some key concepts, when it comes to authentication. We have authentication factors. Okay? These are the credentials that you are submitting in order for you to be verified. It talks about something Okay? So when you go in and you're interacting with, let's say, the Bank of America app, what you see on the web browser is what you're seeing is the front end, or what you see on the client side. Now, the client side might be in form of a form that displays. It's asking for your name, it's asking for your email address, it's asking for maybe your phone number, it's asking for maybe your address. And in some critical system, it might ask you to provide maybe your driver license or your social security number. So those information, once you key them in, it's providing something that you are, something that you know, and that is what you're providing to the system. Now, once you do, it will also tell you that, okay, now we need you to have what we call a username. Pick any unique username for yourself. At times, some systems are configured that in a way, your phone number could be your username, your email address could be your username, your unique name could be your username. So you provide the username and then you choose a password. Now, password is something that you know, but because most organizations want to avoid what we call a single source of failure, a single point of failure, they often layer that. So they will tell you to probably use, a combination or a layer of passwords. So it could be something that you're going to type in, maybe maybe a combination of keys, characters, number, special numbers, and things like that. Then they will tell you to special character rather, and then they will tell you to also put maybe multi-factor authentication in place. Since we all use our mobile phone, they will say, okay, put your number there so that you can get another layer of security. Once you provide your username, password, then we'll send you a code, a one-time code that you can verify that, oh, this is me, yes, please grant access. It kind of secures your environment, your systems a little bit more, so that unauthorized users will not be able to break into your account and steal your information. Because remember, I said initially, you are the owner of that data that you are providing, and the organizations are holding that data in trust. And for them to make sure that that trust is not broken, they have to make sure that their systems is secured. And this is how we try to configure information security. Now, so I talk about something it might also be something that you have. In most organizations in foreign country, they use certain things like a token. And so the token will be maybe a physical thing that you have, a number that will be generated every time you want to access that environment. Once you provide your username and password into the client side of that web browser, it generates a unique token, and then you look at the token, you have it, then you put the token in the system, and that is how you get your access. Or something that you are. You will all agree with me that now we use something that you are. Could be your face, could be your fingerprint, could be even your eyeballs and things like that. And you might have a system where they just tell you to scan your eyeballs for you to gain access into that system, or something like put your thumbprint, because everybody have unique thumbprint, and then you use your thumbprint after providing those initial maybe username and password, and they want you to also put your thumbprint. Those are something that you are. It is uniquely yours. It is your thumbprint. It is your footprint. It is you. And this is how the system is saying that, okay, this is indeed Michael, let him in. And that is very, very critical, because if your information, your credentials falls into the wrong hand, the same way the system is going to think it is Michael is the same way. Once I provide that same set of information and it's all correct and the system verifies it, it allows whoever that is sitting on that chair access to that environment. So it is critical that we protect our password. It is critical that we use password that is configured correctly, and that password in environment is not just something that we allow to be in plain text to be read by systems. So we are talking about hashing of passwords, and we will go into all that concept later, but this is just an introduction to what we call authentication. And again, the whole purpose of this is to make sure that our systems are set up correctly, and then we minimize the vulnerabilities that can be exploited by threat actors in our environment. And again, before we round up this session, I have to tie this back to the business. For organizations, for managers out there, for security analysts, it is very, very important for you to work very closely with your business to make sure that you configure your password correctly. And when I mean correctly, you want to use something that works for your business. You don't want to make your password policy so strong that it becomes a bottleneck to your business. You want to make sure that you're using something that is effective. And then you need to continuously test those passwords, policies, procedures, techniques, whatever you put in place. There must be a pattern, an intentional testing of those tools to make sure that they are still adequate and they are doing what you configure them to do. It is very essential for business continuity to make sure that we don't overcomplicate things. At times people feel like having a very hard shell password will mean that your system is secure, and that could be a wrong assumption. It all depends on your attack landscape, your risk tolerance, your risk appetite, what type of business you are handling, what type of data you are also handling. If you are handling data that involves PII, personal identifiable information of people, then those are critical assets. You want to make sure that you are following ISO 27001, 27002, 27018 to make sure that you're not, you're following those guidelines and best practice in the industry. If you're collecting data that belongs to, or you're doing business with any other foreign companies, maybe European companies and all that, you must follow the GDPR so that because those information, those data, we talk about localization of data, those data cannot be taken out or stored in any facility or any instrument that is outside of Europe. So you have to understand the context and the principles, in order to apply them correctly. So this is about authentication. Authentication is very, very powerful. Our next topic will be on authorization. They all go hand in hand, and it's a very, very interesting topic. I implore you, watch this again. If you have any question, please drop them in the comments. Let us all learn together. And if there's anything you disagree with, please feel free to share and we will correct and we will all continue to learn together. This has been a wonderful session. I really appreciate you being here watching us today. Thank you so much and good luck on your journey.